Good evening, people. Welcome to PRTV Spurs. Tomorrow evening, it is that time of the night. It is Champions League football back at Tottenham Hotspur. So let's get on with the Champions League preview show. Thomas Frank makes his Champions League debut tomorrow with Tottenham Hotspur in the Champions League against Villarreal. 8 p.m. kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Atmosphere is going to be electric. And joining me to do the preview of tomorrow's game is our very own Steve, Mr. Steve Singh. And where are you gone? Here we go. Yes. Good evening, Steve. How are you?
What's going on? You all right, yeah?
Yeah, mate. Champions League is back at Tottenham Hotspur and Thomas Frank in charge tomorrow.
Listen, a lot's happened since the last time I came on here, yeah? We won a certain shiny thing after 17 years, so let's hope this season brings a good brings success as well.
Our listeners, what was that silver trophy that we won? What
was exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. But apart from that, winning that, I know you was proper celebrating, and you also went to the Super Cup as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then transfers and everything. How's it been for you then? And how's it been so far under Thomas Frank reign?
There's some positives. I mean, he's a new manager. I think that he got I mean, obviously, what is that now? 4 league games, 3 clean sheets, 8 goals. Can't really complain with the league form, albeit there's certain things that are a little bit concerning. How at Bournemouth he kind of got tactically outclassed, in my opinion. And that was a little bit of a worry, and that's still playing heavy on my mind. But other than that, I mean, you can't complain. I mean, we beat City, but then we do what we always do. What was it? I think 10, 12 games we've beaten City and then lost the next fixture. So yeah, kind of comes with the territory.
It's who we are, mate. It's who we are. As Andrew would say it last season, it's who we are. But no, do you know what? Thomas Frank's in charge now, and obviously at Brentford, he never got to witness European football. Now coming to Spurs, a big club, and first season in charge, he walks straight into the Champions League. Put yourself in Thomas Frank's shoes now. How would you be feeling now? Obviously, at Spurs with some proper players. I mean, I don't mean Brentford didn't have proper players, but international players, World Cup winner. And you're in the Champions League and your first game at home against Villarreal tomorrow. Talk me through now what Thomas Frank will be going through.
He's living on cloud 9, isn't he? Really, he's living the dream. This is like literally how he's gone from a manager who's played attractive football with the resources that he's had, and to now playing in the promised land of the Champions League. He's living the dream. Like he's literally thinking pinching himself. Literally, how have I managed to get this job? And what else is there? Because he's never managed at this level. But I mean, if the Super Cup was anything to go by, I was very, very impressed with the way that he set up in the Super Cup and how he nullified Paris Saint-Germain, and we was 4 minutes away from a memorable victory there. So I think what happened is the strength in depth. They brought on two players. That one was top scorer in the Euro Championships in Goncalo Ramos, and it was just the difference in quality. We brought on Archie Gray, who's a 19-year-old, and
there's levels, isn't there?
There was a difference. The bench was what was the difference.
Yeah, I mean, he's known as a great tactical, isn't he? Manager, one of these that goes to the book, goes through his book, looks at every manual going. He's been there, he's done it at Bromby when he was there, he's done it at Brentford. He's one of these that doesn't just set a team up and then lets them go out and play. He's one of these that I mean, you probably do what I do when we go to the games, is I watch what he does. And compared to last season, and I brought this up before, we had a manager last season that just stood on the edge of the dugout with his arms folded. Whereas now we've got a manager who stands on the edge, waving his arms around. Then he goes back, sits back down, speaks to his coaching staff, works out what's going on. Then he comes back out again, starts shouting instructions, comes back, sits down. He's constantly like a jack in the box, twiddling and rethinking his tactics and how to win the game. What can I do? Who's doing what? Have you noticed that massive difference where we've actually got a manager with structure and tactical awareness?
Yeah, as I said, I agree with those points. There's a few. The game against Bournemouth was a massive concern for me. Tactically, the way he set up and the way he did everything that you've just explained literally went out the window in that game for me. Yeah. And it was clear as day that Jed Spence is probably one of the best 1v1 fullbacks within the league. Like defensively 1v1, there's not many that are gonna get past him when he stands you up. And what they did is Semenyo wasn't getting any change from that side. So what they did is they swapped Semenyo, and he had a field day against Pedro Porro, who defensively is probably one of the worst fullbacks in the league. Yeah. And then what they were doing is they were really pressing us down the opposite side where Spence and Johnson were, and they just weren't letting us breathe down that side. So they were almost forcing us to play on our weaker side, where you had Johnson who couldn't hold up the ball, and then you had Spence who every time he found Johnson, we just kept losing possession. And I was just like, surely you have to change this. And a concern for me, right, is João Palhinha. So Palhinha, in a game against like a kind of a top 4, 5, 6 team, he comes into the fold for me personally. Like if you're playing a Liverpool, you're playing a United, a Man City, a Chelsea, João Palhinha is first name on the team sheet, because he offers you that solidity and physicality in front of the back four. So he kind of protects it. But against teams where we should technically be dominating, and that's no disrespect to Bournemouth, you're kind of almost playing with 10 men by having Palhinha on the pitch, in my opinion, because for what he offers you in tenacity and breaking up the play, you lack that, like, you know, where you should be playing 10, 15 yards further up the pitch. Palhinha doesn't give you that. So, I mean, even against West Ham, I did question his team selection against West Ham, because I don't think Palhinha should have started. But then in saying that, I think Frank had one eye on tomorrow night, where he's going to look at potentially bringing Bentancur into the fold. And then it is a squad game. You can't just keep playing the same players over and over and over. Yeah, so we've got quite a few fixtures coming up with the Carabao Cup as well, against Doncaster next week. So we're pretty much playing every 3 days. We're going to be playing a game.
Do you think then Thomas Frank now has gone from playing just one game a week and then the odd cup game last season to now trying to adjust himself Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Tuesday in the Champions League? Has he got that capability now to start doing that? Or is this going to be a lesson for him this season in the Champions League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, depending on how we do, and the Premier League? Because he did say after West Ham's game that the Premier League is just as important as every other game. Is he going to find it really difficult then to adjust, or Is he one of these managers that is just going to take it game by game?
Do you know what? This is going to be a massive test for him because he isn't going to. I mean, even though we've got a relatively young squad,
Yeah.
we've got a squad that's been capped at international level, right?
Yeah.
For their country. So when you've got somebody like Matthias Tell, he unfortunately, due to the squad limitations in terms of numbers, he had to leave somebody out. And it's going to be interesting because out of those players that he's left out, he's obviously left out James Maddison, who's ruled out for the rest of the season. He's left out Kulusevski, who we're led to believe should be back in January. And then he's obviously left out Tell, and he's left out Dragusin, who's doing out on grass training now.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a massive test for me because these players have played at Euro Championships. They've played in World Cups. So they're not going to be, when they come back from injury, they're going to be knocking on that door. So then it's like, who do you then leave out? And he's got a massive dilemma there. So he's obviously facing problems that he didn't have at the luxury to have at Brentford, because I call it is a luxury to be playing in the top tier of European football at club level anyway. So it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. And he came out, to be fair, after the Bournemouth game. He did come out and he said that defeat's on me, and there was a few mistakes that I made. The fact that he didn't change anything and he persisted in playing Brennan Johnson, who every other touch he was going in for a tackle. So it's a concern where after watching, like, I think he kept him on for like most of the game. And it's just like, surely you've got to change this up here. And if it hadn't been for Vicario, let's be honest, the scoreline flattered us. That was easily a 4-0 loss with the clear-cut chances that they had. That was a concern for me. So that's my major concern. And let's see how the season prevails. So it's going to be interesting. And he's got a lot of options there. But I mean, in certain areas, I look at it and I think, well, if we lose a Pap Sarr, who's the alternative? Who else offers you the legs that Pap Sarr does? Not many. And then I look at it in the wide areas. Yes, you've got a few options where, like, Kudos can play on the left, Kudos can play on the right, Simmons can play on the left, he can play through the middle. And then you've got obviously Odebert that can play there. You've got Johnson, you've got Richarlison that can play there. You've even got Koulibaly. So up front, he's blessed. Yeah. But then it's that middle of the park. And that was the telling difference against Paris Saint-Germain, where we just didn't have any options. And then when Richarlison got the yellow card, it completely changed the dynamic of the game, because he rolled the dice there and he took him off, obviously, to save us from potentially, because he did go in for a few naughty tackles afterwards, like little niggling tackles. And he pulled off Richarlison. And then we bought on I can't remember who we bought on up top, but they weren't really holding up the ball at all. It was Solanke. Solanke came on, and he wasn't really offering you the same hold up play and same aggression that Richarlison offered you there.
But I think the thing is, this season, right, compared to previous seasons where the Champions League format's changed, right? The last time we was in the Champions League, and I'll show you the stats in a minute, it was group stages, and then you qualify from the group stages, then you go into the round 16s, blah, blah, blah. This time round, it's obviously a different format, seven games, 8 games, sorry, 4 at home, 4 away. So if you lose your first game, it doesn't necessarily mean you're out. If you lose your second game, third game, it doesn't necessarily mean you're out. You can obviously, if you win as many as you can, then you're all right, because you've got top 8, then you've got the middle 16, and then you've got the bottom lot, right? And then you can go into a playoff kind of thing. So obviously tomorrow's game, if he loses, we're not out of the tournament. He's got to live and learn and then rectify the mistakes or whatever for the next upcoming game. If he wins, then it's good. You've got 3 points on the table. You're there. Surely, obviously, he's going to be well aware of what he needs to do and how he needs to plan it. And he seems to be one of them managers, right? Now, the team we're playing tomorrow, Villarreal, we've not played them. I think we've had one meeting with them for a while. So they're going to be coming, obviously, Spanish, the fourth. I think I'm going to show you the stats actually here now. So as it stands now, Villarreal are fourth. They've won 4, drawn 1-2, played 4, won 2, lost 1, drawn 1. Whereas Spurs have played 4, won 3, drawn 1, and lost 1. 9 points they've got 7 points. So they've won 2, drawn 1, lost 1 in the Spanish league. So they're obviously going to come to Spurs tomorrow. And this is the interesting bit. You got an ex-Gooner coming back to Spurs. So he's going to probably get hounded out. And I don't know if you're aware or not, but Champions League one, they've got a player that we've got rid of, and we should get rid of even further. But apart from loan, he's coming back tomorrow, and he could be in the starting lineup. Yeah. Solomon is entitled to play tomorrow. He's eligible to play. They don't have a rule in the Champions League where if you're on loan, you can't play. So he could be potentially be playing. And also Foyth's coming back as well as centre back. I know there was some stuff. I think Romero said a few things about him, how he played with him at under 20s and under 23s. So it's going to be an interesting one. How are they going to be a tough opponents for us tomorrow? First game for Thomas Frank.
Do you know, I think that Aston Villa really set the blueprint on how to tackle this new format. So what they basically did is the other teams had exactly that thought process that you just mentioned there. Yeah. So you had Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid and Manchester City. Yeah. After game week 3, they were literally in the relegation zone where they weren't even qualifying for the playoffs. And the bottom 2 teams, the way that it worked out, the bottom 2 teams, unfortunately for Liverpool, were the playoff was between City and PSG, and then obviously, unfortunately, Liverpool finishing first played the team that was finishing at the bottom. Now, normally, like the thing would be the like if you was a betting man or if you used like your football logic, you would say Paris Saint-Germain would probably be in the top 8 positions by default because they're that good a team. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. And Aston Villa were very, very clever. They went and that's Unai Emery is a knockout cup specialist. So what he did was he got the points on the board quick, and then once he got the points in the bag, he could afford to lose. In the last 3 games, I think they lost 2 and drew 1, but they'd already had enough points to kind of automatically guarantee qualification. I think with the draw that we've got, if we can get 6 points on the board, there's nothing. I'm going to be honest. There's nothing that about Villarreal that scares me. So I think that should be a comfortable win. It all depends on who he's going to play on the left-hand side and who he's going to play up top. They're for me, and I wouldn't play Palhinha. So I think I would go with the midfield 3. I'd probably go with Ben.
Steve, hold that 4 on your team lineup, because when I give you mine, I want your opinion, and then I want what you would go with. So we'll hold that one on fire. The other thing I was going to say about PSG, I think they've done a masterstroke, because they almost they left it till the penultimate game or the last game to qualify, and then they avoided all the big guns, and they ended up getting to the final and winning the damn thing. Yeah, so it was a masterstroke. Obviously, they were probably thinking that, oh, guys, we're going to get knocked out here, because, like you said, they were really struggling. And then all of a sudden, the penny dropped. but the penny dropped for them towards the end at the right times, and they ended up winning it convincingly. So, like you said, if you go all out, if you lose your first couple of games like City did, Madrid did, PSG did, you're not out. You're not out at all. And what we've got in our group, yeah, I honestly think we could finish in that top 8.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, no disrespect to these teams, but these are the teams that we're facing are Europa League level teams, and we did okay. So obviously we've got Bodo, and then we've got Slavia Prague, we've got Villarreal. I mean, we've got Dortmund. Yeah. So obviously Dortmund, we've played them plenty of times, so we kind of know what you're going to get in that one. And then you've got Frankfurt. So if we're not going to qualify with that that level of team, caliber of team, then we don't deserve to go through, in my opinion. So I would want. And if I don't get automatic qualification through top 8 positions, I'm gonna be honest, I'll be a little bit disappointed if we have to go through a playoff.
So the last time Champions League 22-23 season, if you remember very well, we played Marseille, beat them 2-0 at home. We got beat 2-0 by Sporting Lisbon. We drew with Frankfurt 0-0. Then we beat Frankfurt 3-2. At home, we drew with Sporting at home, and then we beat Marseille 2-1. And I think if I'm correct, we had to win that last game to qualify, wasn't it? And yeah. So we done that, and then in the quarterfinals, obviously we lost the first leg 1-0 to Milan. And then second leg 0-0 at our stadium, and we got beat 1-0 on aggregate. And if you remember, Cuti Romero got sent off. So I think on another day, and I think a lot of fans said that last 16 is how the hell we did not qualify from that, because it was ours for the taking to go to Milan and just be 1-0 down and then have the second leg at your place. We should have won that game, to be fair, and we should have gone through to the next stage, but it wasn't. What was your accounts on that season in the Champions League?
Well, that was all down to Conte, right? So we're chasing a game, and then he brings on Emerson Royal.
Yeah.
So there is that is the answer to that question. I don't need to say anything else. Yeah. We literally were chasing a game, and then he brings on Emerson. Out of all the players he could have brought on, he brings on Emerson. And again, when you're down to 10 men, the San Siro is an intimidating place to go to, even though Gareth Bale will tell you differently. But it is an intimidating place to go to. Yeah. But then when we brought them back, I was thinking, if you're still in the game at 1-0, and we just really were so toothless. And as I said, you kind of question Conte. And like, was he kind of heart still in on the job as well? I kind of question him a little as well. So but that defeat in the Champions League was definitely all on him.
Yeah, and our second leg, and I'll just tell you the team now, right? And then I'm gonna give you my team for tomorrow. Our team for that game in the second leg, when you're 1-0 down and you're bringing them back to your ground, was Fraser Forster in goal. We had Cuti Romero, Longley, and Ben Davies as our back three. Yeah. Emerson Royal, Oliver Skip, Højbjerg, and Perisic as our midfielders, with Son, Kulusevski, and Kane up top. That was our team, yeah, for that second leg. Davies, Longley, and Christian Romero at 3 at the back, with Emerson Royal, Ollie Skip, and Højbjerg in the midfield. Madness.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you say the attacking options that you've got there, with you said you mentioned Perisic, Son, and Kane, you would think that those three would have enough firepower within them to kind of see you over the line. But it's frustrating how he's then changed it about. So I don't know. It's a frustrating one with him.
Absolutely. Right. So obviously his team conference today, he said there's no news on in terms of injuries. He said same old Madison Kulusevski. Solanke's still not ready. I want your take on Solanke actually in a minute. And Moani is fit. He's ready to play, but whether he can play 90 minutes, he doesn't know. But he said he's ready to play and he will feature. What's your take on Solanke? Because we done a reaction show the other day and the preview. And what's your take on the Solanke injury at the moment? Are we being told lies? What's going on, in your opinion?
There's definitely an underlying issue, and the rumors that are doing the rounds is that he's picked up an injury and he will be out for a considerable amount of time. And they're umming and ahhing as to whether to go ahead and do an operation on, I think it's his ankle. So they're thinking that shan't we do an operation? And then what you're then doing is by then delaying this, if there is an underlying issue and you're not addressing it, then you're going to go back to square one again. If he does pull it or aggravate it again later on, then you're just going to prolong his time out. I mean, with Solanke, he wasn't my first choice striker. I mean, firstly, he's had the biggest boots to fill in probably world football by trying to replicate or do what Harry Kane did for us, and he's nowhere near that level. I'm sorry, you're spending 65 million or whatever we paid for him, right, on a guy who's only ever hit 20 goals once in a season, and I think he's 27. So his numbers didn't really ever stack up for me. And granted, the way that Ange played, I thought he was going to thrive, but he was dropping way too deep. And then whenever we got into promising positions, he was never there to put the ball in the back of the net. He didn't really suit Ange's style of play. That's why I was a little bit shocked that Ange actually okayed that transfer. Because he literally wants somebody who's just going to stand up there when you do the go to the byline, cut it back, and then bang it in from 5 yards. That's literally what Ange does. Yeah, so we kind of overlap. If he's got a 1v1 winger, go to the byline, cut it back, smash it in from 5 yards. Solanke was never there, and the amount, and people are going to say, oh, but he scored this many goals in the Europa League and he helped us. I get all of that. But at the end of the day, I think it was 7 Premier League goals for a £65 million outlay. That's not a good return on investment. And it's crazy how the Spurs curse lands on him. So in the 3-4 seasons that he was at Bournemouth, he's never had a serious injury. Comes to Spurs and he's now had 3 lengthy injuries and resulting in time out. But I don't know. If you ask me, Colin Moani is a much better player, but Spurs fans are going to be pleasantly surprised by what he's going to offer us. So we'll see and I want him to be given a chance in these games, but I'm afraid that he isn't going to, because he not really had a pre-season, because he was waiting in limbo for a potential move to Juventus, which didn't materialize, and then obviously he's come to us, so he's not had a pre-season. He's obviously not up to speed. He's not up to match fitness or anything like that. But if I was Thomas Frank, I would have thrown him in for a good 10-15 minutes against West Ham. When the game was done, there wasn't anything, there was nothing to lose there. But then at least you get some minutes, get some confidence. Who knows? He may have scored a goal. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles that situation. But probably more than likely, he's probably going to play Richarlison up top.
Right, so on that thought, this is the team, man. This is what I think the team's going to be. This is my opinion, and then I'll ask yours. So this is what I reckon. I think it's obviously the back five ain't going to change. We're going to Vicario, Pedro Porro, Romero, Mickey van der Ven, and Jed Spence as our back five. I'm going with the same midfield three as Saturday against West Ham. Palhinha, Papasaw, and Bergwall. And then I'm going to go with Simons as the 10, Kudus on the right, Richarlison up top. And that's how I think we are going. And Bergwall as well. Sorry, I forgot Bergwall. So I'll put the team up there. That's what I think he's going to line up with. The reason I said this is I think he sticks with them three that played against West Ham because they've done relatively well, in my opinion. So I can't see him changing because two of them were goal scorers and Palhinha's the ball winner and the breaker. I think the only difference is going to be he's not playing full stop because he's Champions League. So I reckon Xavi comes in on the left with Richarlison up top. I know you was on about not playing Palhinha tomorrow. Would you change any of the players?
100%.
Go on.
I'm completely changing that midfield, and I'm completely changing the strikers, and so I'll keep the back line as it is.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, right, I would probably in this match, I don't know whether he's going to do it, but I'd probably switch Jed Spence to right back and give Destiny minutes at left back and rest Pedro Porro. Yeah. Right, that's what I would do. But I'm not gonna if I'm trying to call how he's gonna set it up, he'll probably keep the back five as it is. But if you ask me, if I was in charge, I'd probably make that change. And then if we're lacking with creativity, then you bring Porro on for his distribution. But sorry.
The reason I said Pedro Porro at right back, I tell you why. European football is different, and I think he'd be more suited to European football than the Prem. That's why I've gone with Porro at right back.
Yeah, no, I see it. I've got no, I don't see any negative thing in playing Pedro Porro. Yeah. As I said, if the back five kind of almost picks itself. But Jed Spence is the one where you kind of think, well, if Destiny's fit, where does Jed Spence fit in? But he's excelled more at left back than what he has at right back. But he's a very, very competent player, and I think that over the course of the season, we're kind of lacking in the out and out fullback areas, where we don't have another option on the right hand side. You've got Spence on the right, Spence on the left, and then you're kind of then looking at Ben Davis. So I'd probably keep the back five as it is.
Yep.
I'd play Bentancur in the Palhinha position.
Yep.
And I would play Papsar, and then I'll play Xavi Simons in the 10.
In the 10, okay. And then
so I'll play Xavi Simons in the 10.
Yep.
Right. And then so in the Bergwall position. Yep. And then what I would do is I would play Odebert on the left. Okay. I'll play Kudos on the right. Yep. And I would play Koulibaly up top.
The reason I didn't go with Muani, right, is because what Frank said. Frank said he will feature, but he can't last 90 minutes. He's not fully match fit yet. And somebody's in the comment section is asking about, is Muani in the Champions League squad? He is.
Yeah.
But he's not match fit. So I personally think Muani comes off the bench tomorrow. I don't think he starts. I think he starts with Richarlison and Muani comes off the bench. That's what I personally think. But again, you want to start him, so you would start him, and then Xavi as the 10 and Wilson Odebert on the left, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think I know that he's predominantly last season, and for the Dutch national team, Xavi Simons plays predominantly on the left. Is not so much due to it's basically to get him in the squad. It's not his again, if I had a favoured position for Xavi Simons, it would be the number 10 position.
Right. So
as opposed to putting him out on the left. There is I would want to play him as a 10 throughout his more kind of for when he's played for the bigger teams, he's played in the number 10 position.
Yeah.
So I would definitely play him in the 10, and I'd play and then Odebert gives you problems. That's a very, very quick and very, very intelligent front three that you've got there, and then obviously whoever you play up top is going to have a field day. I mean, I think for just looking at the West Ham game, if you looked at the snippets of Xavi Simons, did he have a fantastic game? No, he didn't. No. But I saw enough to give me like, yes, he is a very, very intelligent footballer. He played through Jed Spence. I counted probably 6 times he played Jed Spence through. And unfortunately, a couple of them, Jed Spence wasn't on the same wavelength, or he got tackled, and he ended up getting through on 2 or 3 of them. But it was like the same ball. He would literally cut in, and then on the outside, just like a through ball. And I think we're crying out for somebody with to play an eye of the needle pass. And again, against West Ham and in all of the other matches that we've played, you kind of think, well, where's the creativity? And everyone's been screaming out for that. So I think if you play Xavi Simons through the middle, he can play that eye of the needle pass. And obviously you've got 2 very, very quick players in Kudos and Odebert, who can kind of make that like bursting run if need be, and get on the end of a through ball or whatever. So it's an interesting one for me, but I think Xavi Simons, I want to really see him in a 10 position. But and Odebert needs to start playing some sort of minutes or meaningful minutes as well. And if we're struggling and we need a goal, then you can always bring on Brennan Johnson. But I do not. If Brennan Johnson starts, I don't ever want to see him start for Tottenham again. He's just not a starting 11 player.
My question:
every time I see Brennan Johnson, there was a crazy stat that we hadn't won very many games where Brennan Johnson actually starts for us.
Wow!
But hey ho.
But my question is, I've made one change to my team from Sunday, which is Richarlison comes in for Tell. Obviously, because Tell's not in the squad. You're making a few changes. I don't think Thomas Frank is going to make that many changes to his first Champions League game. Yeah. I don't think he changes the person, because Bergwall didn't do nothing wrong on Saturday to be dropped tomorrow's game. Papa Sar's done nothing wrong to be dropped.
Yeah, but then what you have to look at in that, where you're saying they've done nothing wrong, I get that, and they're there on merit. They played very, very well. But again, I think that you've got Brighton coming up, then you've got in quick succession, you've got the Doncaster game, and then we're kind of back to the league, and then we're going to be having a long trip to Bodo. So you've got to kind of weigh this all up. That
I totally agree with you. But then isn't the Doncaster game where you ring the changes more so than tomorrow's game? I mean, for tomorrow's game, it's imperative that he gets the 3 points. I know I said before that you don't.
Yeah, but then why Villarreal again? They don't strike fear into me. So why are we playing a Polinia? Why are we playing a Polinia when we're at home, right? And we should. We'll get onto the crowd in a second, because there's thousands of seats that are unsold for that game. And we mentioned it previously that Spurs have made a massive own goal there, but with the pricing of the game, that we've actually gone to general sale for this game.
Yeah, we'll do that in a minute. So I think you're right with Polinia. I just put him in there, but then you're right. I think Bentancur will get a game because he didn't get a game on Saturday. I think Bentancur will get that game for Polinia to have a rest tomorrow, because I think Polinia's probably, like you said, more important against Brighton than he is tomorrow. So I think Bentancur gets that game. But
100%. You got to think that you're going to have the way that Brighton try and overpower through the middle,
Exactly.
and then obviously look for the overlap on the outside.
Yeah.
Baliba is going to run. His running stats are off the record, off the chart. Sorry, and that's where I'm thinking like a Polinia just mopping up, just kind of adding a little bit of physicality, because you are going to need against Brighton. That game is going to be won in the midfield. So
100%.
for me, you're saying play Polinia 90 minutes, then play Polinia 90 minutes play him 90 on the spin 90 minutes. And again, like I said, that against Brighton, it's an away game, completely different, like kind of setup. Maybe bringing a Polinia, then even then I'm thinking he shouldn't be playing in this sort of game. He is a player for me that you bring in when you kind of need an enforcer against a top 6 team who will break up the play and just give you that kind of breathing space where it's wave after wave after wave, and he'll just break and interfere and kind of do what he's good at.
Brighton would give you that. That's why you probably need him for the Brighton game.
Yeah, well, then this is, you can't have him playing 3 lots of 90 minutes. And I think that Thomas Franks has acknowledged that in his team selection. And I would expect Bentancur to be first name on the team sheet. We're at home, and I'm not being funny. Who's in the middle? Thomas Partey. What? How old is he now? 34, 35?
Yeah, I agree.
And he's a very, very good player. Right, but I mean, he's not going to have the same legs as what he once had. So I'm more than comfortable with putting him there, and put Papsar there for his legs, and obviously I'd put Xavi Simons there purely for his creative spark.
Fair enough. Thomas Frank's first home game in the Champions League ever, and he's playing at home. Do you think Spurs have missed a trick here now by having it as a Category B game and charging different prices for different stands? Because like you mentioned, he probably wanted a full sellout crowd to cheer Spurs on. First Champions League game in 2-3 years, his first game ever. He wants the atmosphere. And then by having these stupid prices, we might not have a full stadium.
Oh, I think it's a massive own goal from the club. If you look at the ticketing pricing, and you look that a Champions League like and a club like Tottenham is should be playing every season in, season out in the Champions League with the squad, the resources that we have. That's where we should be, and we're the 8th richest club in the world. So we do have, and we've slipped off in recent times, and where we've kind of been in the Conference League, missed out on Europe one season, and then obviously won the Europa League and kind of got through the back door. So it's kind of nice to obviously have Champions League nights back, and I think they've definitely missed a trick. I mean, tomorrow, based on certain people's posts, we've actually got a TIFO there as well. Now, at one point last week, I think it was Wednesday, Thursday, I logged on to the ticket site, and I was thinking, we're going to have holes in this TIFO, because the seats were literally a sea of green. And now, a lot of them have been snapped up in that area. Is predominantly the north stand that's got loads outstanding, unsold tickets, and a lot on the east and west stands as well.
That's right. Now, you know, back in the days when I'm going a couple of seasons ago, Steve, remember we used to do the Champions League? We done it at the Wembley Stadium, and then we done it when a couple of seasons we were at the new stadium. Every home game, they done a buy 3 for a reduced price of X amount, right? And we was getting them at a discount, and people were snapping them up. Why haven't they done that this year around? Why have they decided to have it categorized and different teams that have different pricing? Surely, like you said, it's an own goal by doing this, because people have been put off by it. People are saying, you know what? I'm not paying £61 or £100 to go and watch Villarreal. I'm not paying £70 to go and watch Copenhagen or whoever.
Yeah.
You know, it's a massive own goal.
Oh, 100%. And for me, right, just to put this into context, we spoke about this offline. Yeah. And for the Champions League games, obviously my son doesn't get a concessionary season ticket, and in the seats that I've got, and I love my seats, so I wouldn't really swap them for anything else, and that's my choice again to have those seats. Maybe I'd move a little bit to the left and a little bit higher up, but I'm not really that fussed. I think my view is good enough. But it worked out at £734 to watch 4 games of Champions League football. Now, I know that you take your sons with you as well, so we were doing the quick maths, and yours was like even more expensive than mine, which is absolute madness. Like the pricing point, and that pays my price point pays for 3/4 of most people's season tickets.
Yeah, and this is what, 4 games of Champions League.
4 games of Champions League football for £734 is absolutely insane. So I'm paying 2 lots of 109, 2 lots of 96 for tomorrow's game, and then I'm going to pay 4 lots of 81 for the remaining 2 games, which is absolute madness, by the way.
Spurs are watching this, or anybody from Spurs are watching this, you need to sort out the next game of the Champions League and have it at a reduced price, or do the next 3 games at a certain price where everybody's going to be able to afford it. Because like you said, Steve, not everyone's going to be able to afford it, and this is just the group stages. This is not even going into the knockout next round. This is just the first round, and you're paying that much. So if they're watching, come on guys, sort it out, please. Steve, tomorrow's game then, obviously you've looked at the team, I've looked at my team, and we don't even know what Frank's going to go with. Atmosphere, Champions League game, Villarreal at home. What's your score prediction?
My score prediction, honestly,
go on.
I think 2-0 Tottenham.
2-0 Tottenham, yeah? Cool. I believe, honestly, I think it's the first game. I think it will be a tricky tie, because obviously Champions League is different. You're going to be a little bit more cautious. Thomas Frank, especially being his first game in charge. However, we've got players that have been there, done it, World Cup finals. We've got players that have been international. If he puts the right team out tomorrow, and we've got some hungry birds on the bench coming on to prove a point, I think Spurs win this comfortably. I think we'll win 3-0. I think we'll win 3-0. Keep another clean sheet. The clean sheets will keep going on. So whoever's doing the laundry, you know what? Fairy Liquid and all them lot, whatever you're advertising, mate, you're not going to be advertising with Spurs, because the whites are not going to get any whiter than what they're going to be every game, because the clean sheets are coming in. So I think 3-0 to Spurs, unless, like you said, we do a stinker like we did against Bournemouth. Or if you remember last season in the Europa League, the first couple of games where Dragusin decided to get sent off and we just went panic stations, we do that. But I've got 100% faith in Thomas Frank, and I think tomorrow he puts the team out that's going to win the game comfortably.
I hope so. I certainly hope so. I mean, we funnily enough, the last time I was on, and it feels a bit sort of deja vu, is when we were playing Bodo, and that's going to be incidentally our next game. And the first thing I looked at was the temperature out in Bodo, because when the temperature was a certain level, they win games, and when it's at a certain level, they've lost a couple of games. And do you know what? You'll be glad to know that for the Bodo kind of game, the temperature is going to be on the high side. I mean, if we can get 6 points out of 6, I'm gonna be disappointed if we don't get anything. If we get any less than that, I'm gonna be honest. Villarreal, I couldn't. You know, I can name a few players. That's because I watch a lot of football, right?
Yeah.
But you ask somebody to name the starting 11 of Villarreal, even I couldn't do it.
Listen,
I couldn't name the starting 11. So if you're losing, and then we're having a debate saying that, oh, like this, then come on, we don't deserve to be in this competition.
Of course not. And obviously Thomas Frank knows that you're in the Champions League now, and it's big boys league, and you've got to go out every game to win the game, and you have to have your best players available and best players on the bench ready to come and change games. Like you mentioned before, PSG, we had it in the nail 2-0 up, and they made 2 substitutions that came and changed the game within 5 minutes. So if you've got that kind of a depth where you can bring on players, game changers that win you games, then you know
Yeah,
what?
they bought on who was it? They bought on Ruiz in the middle, and they
And
bought in what's his face up top, and
Ramos.
that absolute oh, forgotten the guy's name, the Portuguese fella, the guy who scored. So Goncalo Ramos, yeah. So they bought on Ramos and Ruiz, and they absolutely changed. I mean, we to put it into context, we're bringing on 18-year-old. We bought on Bergvall, we bought on Gray, and we kind of lost in the middle of the park. We were getting bullied, and then it was just wave after wave after wave of attack. We didn't have Solanke's hold up play, and then there was a lot of things where, but then it was very humid out there, right? So he did kind of have to make a few changes. So, but that's we were just ever so, and I left that game so angry because I just felt like gutted how well we played, and we absolutely nullified them. Absolutely nullified the best team in Europe. Yeah, and like I said, it was what 4 or 5 minutes, and then you have a different result, right?
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? You know, 4 or 5 minutes, and you concede one, and then you decide to concede a second, and like you said, anything can happen, and unfortunately for us, it went the wrong way, and we sort of folded, and they won the game. Steve, you're going to the game tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, enjoy the game, and I hope your lineup that you predicted comes up and he plays with them lot. I'm just hoping that we get the 3 points. To be fair, Steve, I don't care who he puts out, as long as he puts out a team that at 90 minutes, come 10 o'clock, 9:45, we've got 3 points in the bag. That's all that matters to me. And
do you know what? I'm telling you now, yeah. I'll leave you on this note.
Go on.
I said to everyone when I booked Bilbao early and people laughed at me, I've already booked Budapest. Believe. I've already booked Budapest. It is very expensive. I won't say how expensive, but it's very expensive.
Do you know what? I'm just going to quickly, TNT Sports were doing their little thing. I saw a snippet on social media. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but Fletcher, Joe Cole, Ali McCoy, and all them, they were just talking about the Champions League. Fletcher turned around and said every season he always looks out for a dark horse in the Champions League. Guess who his dark horses are in the Champions League?
Tottenham.
Yeah. He said Tottenham. He said, I've just got this funny feeling about Tottenham this season with Thomas Frank.
Yeah, as I said to you, it's all about the luck of the draw. Now, if I'm honest with you, the way that Liverpool played in those first 8 games, they blew the opposition out of the water. They absolutely done a demolition job on Real Madrid, and on merit, they should have an 8th Champions League title. Yeah, in terms of who were the best team in the competition, because after I know PSG obviously went on to win it, but if you actually look in there, they almost crumbled against Aston Villa. They almost crumbled against Arsenal. Yeah, and they were very lucky against Liverpool. Now you listen, cup competitions are all about luck. Yeah. You're gonna need an element of luck. Look at Van der Ven's goal line clearance. 9 times you play that same frame 10 times, he saves it once, and that was the one time that it counted in the match, and we won the game.
Yeah. And the other thing as well is, like you said, you know, it's the Champions League now is a marathon. It ain't a sprint. So like Liverpool, if you start off winning every single game, and then you sort of start running out of steam as the tournament progresses, what's the point? Whereas PSG started off at the lowest end and then slowly build their confidence. all the way up, and then they win it in the final. So it's like they say, that saying goes, isn't it? It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And if you pace yourself for a marathon, you can end up winning it. If you do a Usain Bolt and try and finish it off in 100 meters in 9 seconds, then game over, innit?
Yeah. The only thing is where we're going to have that potential fixture congestion, because for me, what constitutes a good season, I can, if we don't qualify, like if we don't finish in the top 5, I'm going to be disappointed. I want a decent cup run. I mean, what is it? 5 games and you're into a Europa League, a Carabao Cup final potentially, right? So I'm even looking at targeting one of these cups. Yeah. So we either I want to qualify into this, at least the next phase of the Champions League. Right. This is my minimum expectations. Yeah. And obviously finish in the top 5, have 2 decent cup runs, potentially win one of the domestic ones, and it's that extra 2 games that you have to play, and then they become must-win games, and then that has a domino effect on how you rotate your league squad. So they're 2 extra games that nobody else is having to play.
And don't forget, you've got the January transfer window coming up as well. So depending on how you're doing, you can always then strengthen in the January transfer window.
Yeah, I think, no doubt. I think, well, I'm very, very confident with the latest news with Spurs taking an advance on the TV money for fast forwarding in those funds for January. I'm very confident that we are going to go big in January. So exciting times ahead.
Exactly. Well, Steve, thank you very much for your input for the Champions League game tomorrow. First one for Thomas Frank. Thank you, everybody, in the comment section. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, guys, make sure you give it a subscription. Doesn't take a second, and it's free, and you'll get plenty of contents. Champions League, Premier League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, reactions, talking points, previews, my lovely company, Steve's company, and obviously my other PRTV Spurs people as well. If you're at the game tomorrow, enjoy the game. Steve's going to enjoy the game. I'm going to enjoy the game. And as always, we leave you with, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
And then...